Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome, everyone. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to yet another amazing session with POWI, Prime Unique Women Initiative. This is another interactive webinar on the topic of mental health. So it is my pleasure to welcome each and every one of you. I really appreciate the fact that most of you are able to connect to this program promptly and consistently. It is something that we really do appreciate, and it's something that we admire. You may have noticed that for a couple of weeks, we've been focused on the issue of mental health. And on this issue of mental health, one area that most of our speakers have been particularly interested in is on the part that each and every one of us as individuals can play to, one, improve our mental health as individuals, and two, to help somebody else who is in need. So while it is true that there is a lot that the government can do, while it is true that there is a lot that institutions and organizations can do to improve the quality of our health, or the quality of citizens of Nigerians, we as individuals are taking it upon ourselves to say, look, what are steps that I can take as an individual to safeguard my mental health, to improve my mental health? What can I do? What role can I play? And how can I contribute my own quota to improving the quality of life of somebody else? And so most of our speakers have tried to help us see these salient points and to help us to take actionable steps to improve our mental health as individuals, and of course, to help others who may be in need. Today's session promises to be as enlightening as it has always been. And of course, we will be going in depth on that issue of mental health and looking at steps that each and every one of us can take. Of course, all of us know that this program will not be possible without the invaluable contribution of our president and founder, the person of Dr. Folake Ayoba. She's the person who has taken it upon herself to make sure that as many people as possible are sensitized on the importance, first, of mental health, on actionable steps that they can take to improve the quality of their lives, and on how they can also help to contribute in improving the quality of lives of other people. Dr. Folake Ayoba is also on the lookout for people who are, of course, under the umbrella of POWI, Prime Unique Women Initiative, is on the lookout for people who are also as interested, who are also as passionate as she is in helping even more people. Because the truth of the matter is, if this is what we can do on our own, imagine what we can do with collective efforts. Imagine what we can do with partnerships, with relevant partnerships. And that is why, if you were part of our program 2 weeks ago, most of the speakers unanimously agreed that it is important that all of us join our voices together to talk about this issue of mental health. And one thing that kept reverberating last 2 weeks ago was on the need for governmental agencies, on the need for public institutions, on the need for private institutions to come together to join forces, especially with Prime Unique Women Initiative, to help more people be sensitized on the importance of mental health. The reason why we're saying this is, if you feel that there is particular areas that you can contribute your voice in helping even more people to be sensitized on the importance of mental health, it is something that we would gladly appreciate. It is something that we welcome. It is something that we embrace with open arms. It is something that will be willing to partner with you to help more people. Sometimes we'll talk about these contributions, we'll talk about these partnerships. People usually think that it has to be very big, that it has to be very monumental, but that is not the case. The truth is, there's no contribution that is so small that it cannot make an impact. For example, even as little as inviting somebody else to this webinar will not cost anything, right? But then imagine what impact it will have on that individual. Even as little as contributing to Prime Unique Women Initiative to say, I want more people to receive internet data, for example, so that they can attend the next webinar, because there are more women that need to learn about this. There are more young people that need to learn about this. It may look insignificant, but the truth is it is not. Because that small contribution towards someone's internet data can actually go a long way in making it possible for somebody to attend. And of course, we're not limiting ourselves to those little acts of kindness. In other bigger measures, we can also take steps, actionable steps, to contribute our voices to make it possible for more people to be sensitized on the importance of mental health, because no effort is too small when it comes to making a difference. We really welcome each and every one of you. We're very happy that most of you are able to connect promptly. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome our president and founder as she officially welcomes you all to this program, after which I'll introduce our speaker for today, and then we can get to work. Dr. Folake Ayuba.
Can you hear me, Felix? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Please go ahead.
Fine. Yeah. Beautiful people, good evening, friends and family. We are glad to have you back here this evening. As usual, we hold this program fortnightly, and we are passionate about this program because we believe we'll touch positively on people's lives. We know what is happening in the world today. We know that so many people have the challenge of mental health issues. Unknown to them, so many suffer from this. And we need to call our attention to know whether we ourselves need to search ourselves and be sure that we're actually not involved in this. And if you think you are free, you don't know what's happening in the life of the next person around you. That's why it's important for us to pay attention to this. And done quite a lot in the past, and we're just starting. We have quite a lot to do to moving forward. Yes, what we're going to handle today has to do with something that is applicable to all of us, because we all wake up every day and we put food into our mouths, and then we don't even know, some don't even know the impact of what we eat in our bodies, and particularly relating to our mental health. And so today we want to have the topic, as we have sent earlier, on the effects of poor feeding, poor meal on the quality of life. So when we say poor, we are not talking of you spending so much money to buy food. No, we are looking at what is good for your body and what are the things you need to actually put into your body that will have impact in your mental health. And so we have somebody who is an expert in this, who is going to be doing justice to this for us in the next few minutes. And then we also want to appreciate people's contribution. We need you to ask questions. You can raise your hand electronically, and you're going to be called at the right time so that we can make it as much interactive as possible so that we all can benefit from this program this evening. We appreciate the fact that you have created time to be part of this program, but I can assure you of something: you are not going to lose anything. Rather, you're going to get richer, because knowledge is important for our wisdom and for us to navigate the situation we all face in the world today. So you are welcome this evening. And well, intermittently, I'll come in when there's need to come in. And if there's any question, please feel free to ask. Thank you so much. Please, Felix, will you just take over from here?
Thank you so much, Ma, and welcome everyone once again. Welcome. We'll be having an interactive session, an insightful session on the relationship between poor mental health, poor diet and poor mental health. That is, on the relationship between what we eat and how it affects our mental health. The theme is, what has food got to do with your mental health? And the speaker that will be speaking on this is Mrs. Shirley Ann Chinoye Akabueze. She is a health coach, a wellness entrepreneur, and she obtained her health coaching certification from the Institute for Integrative Nutrition in New York, where she learned innovative coaching methods, business management, practical lifestyle management techniques, nutrition and nutritional sciences. What she's passionate about is helping 21st century busy professionals to live 100% disease-free lives by making food and lifestyle changes using what she refers to as a holistic transformation plan. Without further ado, let's please give our undivided attention to Shirley Ann Chinoye Akabueze.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Folake, for having me again. Thank you, Felix. Thank you, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. Food is function. Food is information. I believe you can all hear me. Felix, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Ma. Please go ahead.
Okay, all right. So food is function, food is information, okay? So it's very, very important. Oftentimes people tend to overlook things when it comes to our food and our nutrition. So today I'm really going to be throwing more light on the relationship between the food we eat and our mental health. Thank you so much, Doctor, once again. Thank you for having me. You are welcome. I hope we all have our pen and our papers because it's going, I mean, we're going really, really deep tonight, but I hope to make it as simple as possible for every one of us. So we'll be starting here. I'll be starting with a quote. It says, eating a poor diet is full of cascading effects that damages your mood, and to think that your mood plays no role in your health is a total myth. A poor mood can actually damage your immune system, slow down weight loss, and lead to tension headaches. And this quote is by Dr. Axe. Dr. Axe is one of my mentors in the US. He's one of the persons that I follow as long as health and nutrition is involved. Okay. So if you think eating a poor diet does not damage your mood, then you should think again. So next slide, please. Thank you. So now, you know, the last time I was here, I talked about the relationship between your gut and your brain. Okay, how does your gut-brain relationship affect your mental health? So a whole lot of feedback that I got was, I've never had that before. We've never had that before, Doc. Oh, what are you saying? I understand. So now I'm going to dig deeper into you know, I said earlier that the gut and the brain are in a bidirectional relationship. That means what affects your gut? Your gut is your gastrointestinal tract, and your brain. They actually go hand in hand. And the gastrointestinal tract, which is the gut, is actually the second brain. Okay. So here I said that there is a direct link between what we eat and how we feel. There is a direct link between what we eat and what we feel. Okay. And what is that hormone in our bodies that are actually in charge of what we eat and how we feel? It's called serotonin. So serotonin is a neurotransmitter in the brain that helps regulate our sleep. It regulates our appetite. It regulates our mood, and it also regulates pain. So since 95% of this serotonin is produced in your gastrointestinal tract, remember that your gut, and your gut is that organ of your body that begins from your mouth down to your anus. So imagine this, every organ that begins from your mouth, you have your throat, you have your small intestine, you have your large intestine, you have your stomach, you have your kidney, everything. Every organ that begins from your mouth down to your anus are your GI tract. That's your gastrointestinal tract. It's actually called your gut. Okay. So now 95% of this serotonin, this hormone, okay, that regulates your mood, that regulates sleep, that regulates appetite, are actually formed in the GI tract. And remember, your gut and your brain are actually in a bidirectional relationship. That means whatever affects your gut affects your brain. I want you to follow me. Now it's saying this. Since 95% of your serotonin is produced in the GI tract, and your gastrointestinal tract is lined with 100 million nerve cells or neurons, it makes sense that the inner workings of your digestive system doesn't just help you digest food, but it also guides your emotion. Your gut and your brain are in a relationship. That means what you eat actually helps guide your emotion. That means what you eat actually affects your mood. That means what you eat actually affects the way you think. Okay? What's more, the function of these neurons and the production of these transmitters like serotonin, is highly influenced by billions of good bacteria that make up your intestinal microbiome. Now, these intestinal microbiomes, okay, these bacteria in our guts, they actually play an essential role in your health. They protect the lining of your intestine. As they're protecting the lining of your intestine, it's actually affecting how your brain works. Okay, now they protect the lining of your intestine and they ensure that they provide a strong barrier against toxins and bad bacteria. That is why we should be very, very careful with popping in antibiotics. Every small thing, you're taking antibiotics. Now, what you do when you do that is this: you kill both the good and the bad bacteria. So when you kill both the good and the bad bacteria consistently by your constant intake of antibiotics, you're killing your defense, you're killing your army. The good bacteria that is supposed to guide your gut and actually help you with a proper brain function is killed by your constant use of antibiotics. And now, not just antibiotics, there are also foods that actually inhibit this process. There are also foods that affect your gut. Please, the next slide, Felix. Next slide. Next slide, Felix.
Yeah, do you still want me to keep moving?
Next slide, please.
Okay.
Are you there, Felix? Please give
Yes,
me
we're
please
actually
work with
changing the
me,
slide. I
please,
don't know,
okay?
perhaps it's not reflecting on your end.
No.
But yeah.
I was okay.
Oh,
Go back to the previous slide.
okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Just give me a minute to go back, okay?
No, go back. Go back to where I was before.
Okay, sorry everyone. I think we missed her for a bit. I believe she's working to join us back. But in the meantime, I'd like to find out if Dr. Nina has something for us, or if anybody has a comment or a contribution with regard to what she has mentioned thus far, while we wait for her to join us again. Meanwhile, I'd like to mention that in addition to our health and wellness coach, we actually have the rare privilege of having in our midst another consultant and expert, especially when it comes to the gut-brain relationship. And that is a naturopath. That is what the profession is called. Of course, she's in a better position to explain how that works. And that's Dr. Faith. I noticed that she is also in the room, and I'd like her to say hi to everyone, and of course, to mention her comments or her contributions in this regard. Dr. Faith, please. Okay, yeah, so I understand that it's raining in major parts of Abuja today. So my apologies on their behalf, because of course we know okay, since there's a gut-brain relationship, right? I think there's also a network-brain relationship, especially in this part of the world. Dr. Faith was actually on the call a minute ago, but I think we missed her for a bit. But I know she's making an effort to join us back. And Shirley Ann Chi Akaboise too. Okay, yes, she's back. Doc, yes, please go ahead.
I'm so sorry. It's crazy here. I have two powerful network in both on standby and still like keep getting.
Yes, I understand. It happens to the best of us. Please go ahead,
No,
ma.
sorry about it. Okay,
Yeah.
so please take me to my last slide so I don't miss anything.
Okay.
Yes, the last slide, please. Take me back. Go back. Beautiful.
This one? Yeah.
No, the fourth one.
This one?
The next one.
Oh, number 4. Okay.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. So people with depression, for instance, make food choices that can actually contribute to their depression symptoms. Okay, so especially when the majority of their food consists of white flour. Now it's getting interesting. What are the foods that actually can cause mental health problems? Number one is white flour or processed foods. Now, white flour is actually gotten from our wheat, okay? White flour is actually gotten from wheat. The bread that we eat, the biscuits that we eat, the what's it called? The pies, the meat pie, the cakes, all those things are actually made from white flour. and white flour is also gotten from wheat. Okay, that's the part of the wheat that is processed into this flour. And the problem with this white flour is that because it contains gluten, this gluten actually is what gives white flour that the ability to rise. And the more it rises our brain. It causes an inflammation. Okay, it causes an inflammation in our brains. It causes an inflammation in our gut. Remember, the gut, your GI tract, and the brain are actually in a bi-directional relationship. So whatever you do, whether the food you're eating for you, it's not healthy for your gut, it's going to affect your brain. So now people who have these depression symptoms actually eat food majorly that consists of white flour or even processed food. And they also eat foods that are high in refined sugar. Okay, your sodas, your fruit juices. Now, I'm not talking about natural fruit juices. I'm talking about your refined juices. Okay, these are foods that actually causes depression symptoms. These are foods that actually impact on your brain and on your mental health. While we have always known that what we eat affects our body and how we look, research continues to uncover that what we eat plays a huge role in the health of our brain. Now, if you want to curb your mental health problems, food should be the major player. Food should be taken very, very seriously. Okay. When it comes to staying mentally sharp and focused, eating plenty of brain foods matter. Now, there are foods that are technically meant for your brain. And remember that any food that is good for your brain is good for your gut, because your brain and your gut are in a relationship. Okay. So this simply means that the foods we eat, the brain foods, it means that the food we eat actually affect our mood, it affects our thoughts, and it affects our behavior. It isn't surprising how food has been linked to violent behavior and mental poor health. Let me give you an example. Some of us who have children, have you ever noticed that each time you give your children something like sweets, maybe chocolate, or you give them fizzy drinks like sodas, you notice that these children, they are jumping all over the place. It's like they are so hyperactive. You can't calm them down. They're like it's like they're just behaving out of normal, out of the usual way. So now you begin to wonder, what is this? Even let me tell you, it comes down to even yam. Yam. Let's not even go far. Yam. A natural food like yam gives the same effect on certain people. Like when they eat this food, they are all over the place. Even you listening to me, there are certain foods that you eat. You notice that you're so active, you're so hyper, you have a whole lot of energy, you're jumping around. I mean, you're like, okay, where's the war? I mean, what's happening? Blah, blah, blah. So now this food actually, most of us do not understand what's going on. But I'm going to show us how to identify these things. Now, this food that we eat, in some people, certain foods that are simple and as cheap as, let's say, an apple, for example, can actually cause one to misbehave. Simple foods can actually cause people to misbehave. Next slide, please. So I don't take too much time. Next slide, Felix. Yes, thank you. So our brains are actually wired to food, to turn to food to feel better. Our brains are actually wired to turn to food to feel better. And this is where the food industry is playing us. Because they know that our brain needs energy. Because they know that our brain needs dopamine, that feel-good hormone, okay? This is the hormone that promotes a healthy state of mind. This is a hormone that makes us agile, makes us feel good. So our food industry is actually manipulating our food, in quotes. When I say food in quotes, what I'm saying is junk, because most of what our food industry sells us is junk. So they manipulate these things and they make it appetizing, they make it interesting, they make it catchy. Okay, they package it they put it in a package that is very, very attractive. That's why whenever you're buying any food, whenever you're buying any product, you're buying the container first. It is the container that attracts you. Okay, so this is where the food industry is actually killing us, because they make this food so attractive that we can't even resist them. So if you can't even resist the package, you can't even resist the content. Okay, so the dopamine or the feel-good hormone that actually help us have a healthy state of mind. And now the good thing is that God in his mercies have already deposited this feel-good foods. We can actually find this dopamine in natural foods. If let's say you're feeling down, you're feeling low, there are natural foods that you can actually take to help you feel better, to help you feel alert, to help you feel strong, to help you feel sharp. Okay?
Now, but because we don't know, what is the first response when you're feeling low? You reach out for a soda because, I mean, you need that quick fix. What is the first response when you're feeling low? You reach out for a pie, you reach out for biscuits, you reach out for cake, sugar. You are going for refined sugar. These things that also impact, they make us feel good. They release that dopamine feeling, no doubt. But now the question is this: what is the impact of this sugar-laden junks on our health? What is the impact? Now, dopamine can be gotten from natural foods and they can be gotten from packaged food. They can be gotten from junks. Now, what determines what happens to you is actually based on your own choice. And you can only make the right choice when you have the right information. So now, when it comes to staying mentally sharp and focused, eating plenty of brain food matters. This simply means that what we eat affects our brain. Yes, we've said that before. So eating brain boosting foods is one of the keys to maintaining a healthy mental state. Remember the gut and the brain relationship. If you want to live void of depression, if you want to live void of anxiety, if you want to live void of Alzheimer's, every other mental health problems, your food should really, really count. What you put in your mouth should really, really count. There is a saying we use in the health coaching industry: food is function, food is information. So it is the information, the food information that you give your body that determines what your body gives back to you. So note, please, why not all mental health diseases are not caused by food? Okay, why not all mental health diseases are caused by food? Poor nutrition can actually worsen mental health conditions. Now, there are so many other reasons why one can actually have mental health issues. Now, number one of it is poor nutrition. But why not all? Why we cannot say that all mental health issues are caused by poor nutrition? Now, having poor nutrition can even worsen one's mental health. Alzheimer's disease can actually be worsened by poor nutrition. Depression can worsen by poor nutrition. Being anxious can be worsened by poor nutrition. So it's always very important that once one finds themselves in that state of mental state, the best thing to do for yourself is, yes, one, identify your stressors, identify what is causing you to be moody, identify what is making you depressed. Then the next thing is feed your brain with the right food information. Now let's get to the interesting part. The next slide, Felix. Brain foods. What are brain foods? Brain foods are actually those foods that are rich in antioxidants. They are rich in healthy fats. They are rich in vitamins and they are rich in minerals. These foods provide our brains with energy and aid in protecting brain cells, which can help ward off development of brain diseases and promote a healthy mind. So when we are talking about brain food, understand that these are foods that are rich in antioxidants, healthy fats, vitamins, and minerals, okay? So if your brain, as an individual listening to me tonight, if your brain is deprived of good quality nutrition, or if free radicals, or you have these damaging things, you keep eating junk, these inflammatory cells are circulating within the brain's enclosed space, further contributing to brain tissue injury. Okay, this is what I'm saying. By the time you keep feeding your brain junk, okay, you are damaging your brain cells. There is going to be constant inflammation, constant problems in your brain. And that problems in your brain is also going to be reflecting on your gut. Okay, now you begin to experience certain issues I'm going to be mentioning in the next slide. So what's interesting is that for many years, the medical field did not fully acknowledge the connection between mood and food. You know, overseas in the Western world, they are beginning to really pick up. You know, one thing I like about what I'm doing as a health coach is that we are bridging the gap between medical science and then the patients. Health coaches actually act as a bridge between medical science and then the patient. Now, before now, doctors actually refused. They never agreed that there was a real connection between the food that we eat and our mental health. They didn't even agree that there is a relationship between food and then our general health. Because you won't blame them, little or no knowledge or no training that are actually provided to the doctors in medical school. Okay, so now they are beginning to appreciate and understand, wow, there is a difference through diverse researches, through diverse experiments. Now they're beginning to see, oh, okay, that food do actually impact on the brain. The next slide, Felix, please. So at every meal, At every meal, as you're listening to me, at every meal, we make choices of what to feed our bodies. At every meal, once you sit down to eat, ask yourself, this food I'm about to eat, is it going to impact on my brain positively or negatively? This food I'm about to eat, is it going to help me? What is the result I'm hoping to get out of this food? So now, too much sugar and refined carbs, not enough good fat. People often say, no, you don't need fat. You need the right kind of fat. You need omega-3 fatty acid, the right kind of fat, because the brain is made up of 60% fat. Okay, and another part of the brain is also made up of 80% water. So you need the right kind of fat to have a better brain function. And that better brain function will also impact on how your gut functions. Okay, so too much refined sugar, too much refined carbohydrates, okay, not getting enough good quality fat, inadequate intake of the right nutrients, and exposure to toxins can have a negative effect on your brain and can even contribute to disorders ranging from brain fog to depression to Alzheimer's. Okay, Alzheimer's is, you see somebody, they begin to forget things. Like you see somebody, you're getting older, but you tend to forget things. You tend to skip a whole lot of things. I mean, this Alzheimer's is actually on the rise, and people should really take this thing very, very serious. Now, I want us to understand that nutrients are the fertilizer for the brain. Food nutrients are the fertilizers for the brain. So if you want to have a good and a functioning brain, if you want to have a good and a functioning mental health, you should look at your food nutrients. Okay? When we get the right kind of nutrients, our brains can flourish and grow, even generating new cells in older age. When we start now to feed our bodies, our brain, the right kind of food nutrients, they will flourish and they will begin to generate new cells even as we age. Okay, now this is where it becomes interesting. What are those brain foods? What are the brain foods? Number one, we have nuts, and this nut includes walnut, cashew nut, and Brazil nuts. Please pay attention to this. Nuts for the brain function includes walnuts, cashew nut, and Brazil nut. Okay, walnut, even taking a look at the walnut, you see that it looks like the brain. That is the number one nut when it comes to brain function. Okay, cashew nut, that's the next one, and then Brazil nut. Okay, the next thing on the list is avocados. Thank God avocado is actually in season, so you should get a whole lot of avocados. Avocados are actually rich in omega-3 fatty acid, and that helps with our brain function. Remember, the food you eat determines your mental state. If you want to avoid depression, if you want to make sure that you're not always moody, every other thing being equal, kindly focus on these foods that I'm mentioning. Avocados. The next one is beetroot. Beetroot, okay? And the fourth thing on the list is leafy greens and cruciferous vegetables. You can never do without your greens. You can never do without your greens. We have the lettuce, we have the spinach, we have the kale, we have the pumpkin leaf. Pumpkin leaf, that's ugu, okay? Ugu that we can see in the market. Lettuce we can see in the market. And please let nobody come and tell me these things are expensive. We can get, yes, and we know that things are no longer the same way they are in the market. Yes, I can understand that. But I mean, lettuce of 200 naira can actually get you a salad, 2 portions of salads, for example. Even if you're not making a salad, by the time you mix this lettuce with other fruits and vegetables, you can actually have a healthy smoothie. Even if these things you do them once in a day, it's very, very important. What are we even talking about? How much is cashew nut? We can get cashew nut as cheap as 200 naira. We can, for those in Nigeria, we can get cashew nut as cheap as 500 naira. Now, walnuts may be expensive, I understand, because we don't have it here. But what about cashew nuts? Yes, you might say Brazilian nut, but what about cashew nuts? Now, we are in the season of avocado. We can get avocado for 300 naira. What are we talking about? We can get 2 avocados for 500 naira or 550. So, with 550 naira, we have actually boosted our brain. We have actually reduced depression symptoms. We have actually improved our mental health. Okay, now we're talking about spinach. Yeah, you might say spinach is expensive. I understand. You can only get it from the stores or from farmers market. That's if you're in Abuja. What about kale? How much is kale? You can get kale of 300 naira. You can get kale of 500 naira. What am I even saying? Look at pumpkin leaf, ugu. Get to the market, you can get ugu of 100 naira. So these things are actually not far-fetched. These things are actually accessible. And the next food on the list is the beans and the legumes. We have our beans everywhere around us. But I understand that people would say, no, I don't like eating beans because of the digestive problems they experience, like the gas, the diarrhea, constipation, heartburn. Okay, some people have ulcers, some people have a whole lot of issues. I understand that this is because they do not know how to prepare those meals. And part of what my work, and part of what I do each time I coach a client is that I teach them. Not only do I provide the list of food you're supposed to eat, I also teach you how to preserve the nutritional content of the food and make it more digestible. Okay, now if you're avoiding beans or legumes because it gives you digestive problems, that is understandable. Because if you keep consuming these particular beans and legumes, for example, if you're in a category of people who have problems with beans and legumes, this food will now also affect your brain, because now you're not getting the right nutrients that you need. Now you might say, I can't eat beans, but you can eat avocado. I'm just trying to remove every excuse you may have. But you can eat beetroot, but you can take ugu. I'm not saying just buy ugu and start chewing. Of course, you can eat yam and ugu, for example. You can make your tomato sauce with ugu. You can, a whole lot of things. It's about being creative. You have to experiment in the kitchen to find out what actually works for you. Then we have the dark chocolate, okay? Then we have fishes. And in this category of fishes, what we're talking about is salmon and sardines. Yes, salmons are expensive, especially the white called salmon. If you can afford it, that's good. But we have the sardines, the one we call Titus. The one we call Titus that we buy from the market. Or you can even go for the sardines that are actually in the container. But the challenge with that is that it already has salt because of the preservation used in it. But there are also fresh sardines that you can buy from the market. Even another cheaper one you can do is panla, that fish that we call panla fish. Panla fish is also good because that's cod. Panla fish is actually cod. I believe you must have heard of cod liver oil. Cod liver oil. Yes, it's actually good for our brain function. Okay. Now we have berries. We have strawberries, blueberries, blackberries. Every food in the berry family is actually very, very important for a healthy brain function. And the next one that I did not add on the list is water. Okay, we should drink water if we are actually out to help our brain function properly. We need to drink water. But everything, and also when it comes to water, should be done in moderation. And there are also techniques to drinking water. There is a saying that, and that is what we use in our practice, that water should be taken 20 minutes before you sit down at a meal and 20 minutes after you sit down at a meal. You see, a whole lot of people, they actually have this wrong practice of drinking water while they are eating. When you do that, it actually interferes with digestion, and it actually gives you some digestive problems. Like you are so bloated, you are so full, okay, you're having heartburn because you are drinking water while sitting at the meal. Now, instead of that water to help your food digest or in the right setting, let's assume that you have taken it in the right proportion and in the right system, that water now will inhibit digestion. And once digestion is inhibited in your gut, it affects your brain. It impacts your brain negatively. Now, I want to teach us something. The next slide, please. So now, there's something called the ultimate food test. Please, I hope we're really writing these things down. Now we've listed the brain foods, okay? Now, how do you do the ultimate food test? Remember, there is a bioindividuality concept that states one man's food is another man's poison, right? Now, I have listed about 8 foods that are generally accepted or they are generally proven to be brain foods. Now, how do you know which of these foods is actually good for you? Now, if I just had to include this ultimate food test because some people, assuming I ended this webinar here, some people will just run off and start eating all this food. They said this one, they said it's a berry, they said, you know, that's our language here in Nigeria. Now I want to teach us this thing, please. To clearly understand what food helps with your mental and your overall health. Now, I'm not just talking about your mental health. Remember that your overall health is also being impacted by your brain, okay? And your brain also impacts your overall health. Use this food testing method. Number one, Pick any of the food. Now we're focusing on the brain food, right? Pick any of the foods on the list. Let's say you pick beans, for example. Note your feelings 1 hour after eating beans to discover any emotional, psychological, and physical symptoms you may experience. I take it again. Not any food, just about any food, even your cakes, your bread, your whatever is it that you eat. I need you to do this ultimate food test. Note your feelings 1 hour after eating that particular food to discover any emotional, psychological, or any physical symptoms you may experience. Number 2, note your feelings. Note your feelings 2 hours after eating that same food. And I'll tell you what emotional, psychological, and physical symptoms you should look out for in the next slide, okay? Now, the second thing is this. 2 hours after eating this particular food. Now, we are using beans as an example. Note your level of productivity. Note your energy level. Note your emotional state. Note your physical symptoms 2 hours after eating beans. The third thing is this. Note your feelings 24 to 72 hours after eating a particular food. That's why you see some people, they ate beans, for example, because we're using beans. They ate beans 3 days ago. They are purging today. And when you ask them, what did you eat? They say, nothing, no. So you ask them, so what did you eat yesterday? I didn't even eat yesterday. I was fasting yesterday. So what did you eat day before yesterday? Oh, okay. I only ate beans day before yesterday. It could be that it's the beans of day before yesterday that is causing them to purge today. So the first thing is this. Check your feelings first 1 hour after eating that particular food, 2 hours after eating that particular food, 24 to 72 hours after eating food. And please don't tell me this is not realistic. This is very, very realistic. The problem is that we have not paid attention to our bodies. We have not built a relationship with our bodies. And for you to use food as medicine, you need to understand how each food actually impacts on your health and your well-being. If you're not ready to do this test, then you're not ready to have a healthy mental health. You're not ready to have an overall total wellness or holistic wellness. Because for you to understand what works for you to understand the food that is your own, the food that is your own and the food that is poison to you. That's why we hear people say food poisoning. Food poisoning. They have eaten something that does not agree with their system. Okay, so you need to do this test. So the aim of this test, okay, is to build awareness as a food detective. If you want food to begin to work for you, if you want to begin to appreciate this thing God has created and has called it food, okay, you need to be a food detective. That way you pay more attention to your health and your nutrition, leading you to build a healthy relationship with food. Now, I know the foods that are a no-no for me, and I know the foods that I'm supposed to eat. So what do? I focus my attention on those foods that I'm supposed to eat, those foods that actually impact on my mental health, those foods that actually impact on my productivity, those foods that actually give me energy, those foods that actually boost my mood. I focus more on those foods that actually help my gut. Okay, I don't focus, that's the problem people have. When they meet the doctors, for example, and the doctors are like, okay, your cholesterol is high. Why don't you eliminate, or why don't you minimize your intake of red meat, for example? They'll be like, the doctor said I should not eat meat. The only thing they're singing is what the doctor said they should not eat. Now, you're not focusing on what you should do. Maybe the doctor may have not provided the alternative, okay? Or maybe he may have provided the alternative. But in your head, you're like, how can I even give up this thing that I enjoy? Now, you are in that situation because you have not sat down to actually tell yourself the truth. You've not sat down to tell yourself, this thing I am feeding myself consistently on is actually making me sick. If you know that each time you eat groundnut, for example, it gives you headache, why would you continue eating groundnuts? If you know that each time you eat eggs, for example, it gives you knee pains, why would you continue eating eggs? Why not focus on your attention on those foods that you enjoy that actually make you feel good? Why not focus your attention on those foods that you enjoy that actually makes you healthier? Why not focus on those foods that will actually help with your mental health than constantly feeding yourself those foods that make you sick? And once your brain is sick, your whole body is sick. Once your gut, your gastrointestinal tract is sick, your brain is sick, vice versa. So the aim of this test is for you to build awareness. You need to create awareness. What food actually works for me? What food actually does not work for me? The next slide, please. So now when I talked about the psychological, emotional, and the physical symptoms to look out for, these are things you should look out for. Number one is headache. Okay, headaches. Number two is moody feelings. Dr. Nina said her longer throat not gonna let her eat healthy food. Okay. Okay, so now we talk about headache, we talk about moody feelings, we talk about tiredness or sluggish feelings. Okay, talk about mental alertness. Some foods make you develop cravings for salt and sugar. We talk about anxiety, heart palpitations, and depression. There are some foods after eating them, you find it difficult to focus. Some food makes you sleepy. Some food gives you digestive problems like constipation, diarrhea, ulcer, gas, and all that. Some food actually gives you knee pains. Some food causes arthritis. These arthritis, we say, yes, we have the arthritis as a result of bone defects. But now we have what is called autoimmune induced arthritis. Okay, food actually causes this autoimmune induced arthritis. Now, these are the symptoms you should look out for when you eat food. I have listed about 8 foods that are for our brain. When you pick these foods and you eat them one after the other, you should check. And then this does not just apply to the food I listed. I've said this earlier. This applies to the food that we eat generally. Does this food give me headache? How do I feel after eating this food? Does it give me headache? Does it cause my mood to change? You see people, they have a mood swing. Some people, if you can testify to some of the things I'm saying, please put it in the comment section. You see, some people actually have this moody feeling. They are having a mood swing. They are angry. Some people, they feel tired. They are sluggish because they are too full. Okay. Some people, they are mentally alert. There are certain foods that we eat that actually make us mentally alert. That's why some people go for coffee. Some people go for coffee because they need to be mentally alert. Okay, there are foods that each time you eat them, you start craving salty foods like salty crackers. There are foods that after eating them, you want sugar, you want to drink soda. That's why you see some people, they can never eat without drinking Coke. They can never eat without drinking Fanta. They can never eat without drinking juice. And we think it's actually woke that we have money, that each time we're eating our rice or we're eating our soup or whatever, we're taking it with juice. Some people cannot eat without alcohol. This is a habit they have formed, and this as a result of the food that they keep eating and the behavior. Remember I said food actually decides on your behavior, your mood, and then your mental health. Okay? Now, there are some foods that after eating them, you become anxious. You start having anxiety, panic attacks. You start having heart palpitation. You are depressed. Food can actually make you depressed. There are some other foods that actually makes it very difficult for you to focus. There are some foods that actually after eating them, you want to sleep. Let me give you a typical example. Some people after taking yogurt or after taking pap, they just want to go and sleep. So now, that sleepy feeling is an association or is associated with what you have eaten. But these things I'm talking about, we actually experience them. But because we actually do not pay attention to them, we don't even know what is going on. We don't even understand how these things actually impact on our health. Now, imagine yourself as a busy professional. After eating breakfast, you are feeling sleepy. After eating breakfast, you're burping, or you're having constipation, or you're having diarrhea, or you're fatting, you're gassing up and down. Just imagine that scenario. That's why some people will say, no, I don't like breakfast because it makes me tired. I don't like eating breakfast because it gives me headache. I don't like It's not breakfast as it were that gives you those feelings. It is what is in your plate. It is your food that actually gives you those feelings. Okay? It is not the breakfast. It is the food in the plate that gives you these feelings. So please, let's correct that. I often hear people say, no, I don't eat breakfast. I don't eat breakfast. My dear, you should actually eat breakfast. But the most important thing is what is in your plate? What are you having for breakfast? Okay? So now, please pay very attention to this. Never ever claim that a food makes you sick until you have tried that food in 3 different occasions. Okay? Now look at the symptoms I listed here. Maybe let's say today you had pineapples and it gave you heartburn. Tomorrow, in another time you had pineapple, it still gave you heartburn. In another occasion, you had pineapple, it still gave you heartburn. That means pineapple indeed gives you heartburn. But you cannot say, and at that point, it will be wise to avoid pineapple because the gas in it gives you heartburn, and that's a digestive problem. But you cannot say, in a case that you have pineapple today and you have a heartburn, and then tomorrow, in another occasion, you have pineapple and it doesn't give you heartburn. The next time you try it, you have pineapple and it doesn't give you heartburn. In this situation, you cannot say pineapple is not good for you. You can only say pineapple is a no-no food for you or doesn't work for you when you have tried it in 3 different occasions or you have tried them 3 days consecutively. There is something I do with my clients. Each time I write my clients a meal plan, there are certain foods that I know that are naturally problem foods that I remove from their diet in the first 1 month, in the first 30 days, because we're trying to heal the gut and restore digestive function. And in the course of healing the gut, we're also trying to heal the brain. So by the time we remove this food for 30 days, because the body has a memory, we're trying to wipe out the body's memory of those particular foods, okay? And then I give them meals that will start the healing process, that will restore the gut, that will heal leaky gut, that will help with brain function. Now, there is something we do after that. After 30 days, those foods that I've actually removed from their meal plan, I start introducing those foods to them one after the other. I start reintroducing those foods one after the other. And each time I reintroduce those foods one after the other, I tell them to do this thing I'm just talking about. Eat this particular food in 3 different occasions. And look out for these symptoms that I've already listed here. Or eat this particular food 3 days consecutively to check for any of the symptoms that I've listed here. Now, these symptoms, they could be positive or they could be negative. Now, the foods that help you stay mentally alert, helps with your productivity. That means you can get so many things done within a short time because this food helps you. Let's use coffee, for example. People who take coffee, they become mentally alert. They can do a whole lot of things. They can cover a whole lot of work, okay? So now, this food are best introduced in different occasions to rule out for sure. It's called the elimination diet, okay? You take this food in 3 different occasions to rule out for sure. Or for adults in medical science actually use this to test for allergies and sensitivities. But for children, they use the stool method. They take your stool, the child's stool, and they culture it to know what's actually causing their allergies and sensitivities. But for adults who can actually pay attention to themselves, you use this method. You introduce this food in 3 different occasions and find out, okay, how does this food actually impact me? Or you eat this food 3 days consecutively for you to say for sure, this particular food makes me feel good. I enjoy this food. Or this particular food doesn't actually make me feel good. I think it's best for me to take it off. And when I take it off, you should always have an alternative. Because the problem is this, when you do not have an alternative, you are actually more likely to go back to eating that food because you feel you don't have an alternative and then you're missing out on something. Okay, I hope we got that. The next slide, please. We're almost rounding up. So finally, just like Dr. Nina said, she said she cannot eat, her longer throat will not let her eat a healthy meal. Let me tell you what to do. You want to eat healthy, but you can't. Okay? These are the reasons, the 2 big factors. The 2 big factors, priority. Yes, we're chasing a whole lot of things. We're trying to do a whole lot of things. Now, is healthy eating, is living a healthy life a priority to you and for you? That's the big question. Is living healthy a priority for me? Number 1, priority. Your default food comes from food or junk you enjoy, especially addictive, high palatable foods that are high in sugar. High palatable foods are foods that are actually high in sugar, they are high in salt, and they are high in empty calories. And the bad thing is that these foods actually make you sick. Each and every one of us here, we have foods that we enjoy. Now, the question is this: these foods that you enjoy, do they make you sick or do they actually help with your health? Okay. Now, another question is this: how do you make a shift? How do you make a shift? If you want to make healthy living and healthy eating a priority, how do you make a shift? The first thing to do is that you need to say it loud. You need to say it loud. You say something like, I will prioritize whole grains, high protein, high fat food. This is based on whatever your eating goals are. Let's say you're trying to lose weight. You tell yourself, I will prioritize high protein diets, because high protein diet actually helps you lose weight. I will prioritize high fat food. High fat food helps with your mental health. It helps with your brain. And you know that when your brain is functioning well, it helps you to lose weight. You know, some people, if you're here and you have issues with losing weight, that means your brain is not functioning well. So you need to fix your gut and you need to fix your brain in order for you to lose well. That's the metabolism we're talking about. Okay, that metabolism we're talking about is a brain thing, is a gut thing. So you need to fix your gut and you need to fix your brain for you to be able to lose weight. So if your priority, if your aim, if your wellness goal is to lose weight, as I've used as an example, you say to yourself, I will prioritize high protein diet. You say it out loud. I will prioritize exercise, and exercise can be something cheap like walking, something cheap like cycling, something cheap like jumping ropes, something cheap like using the bike, or instead of driving, using the stairs instead of the elevator. You know, these are simple shifts you can actually make. So you say whatever is it you're going to do based on what your eating goals or your wellness goals are. Okay, so by the time you say out your goals, okay, you choose dietary theories that align with your goals. For example, let's say I'm trying to gain weight. I will say, I, Shalian Chinonye, will prioritize whole grains. Whole grains are oats, brown rice, okay? Wheat is actually a whole grain. But the problem with wheat is because it contains the white flour that makes it very difficult for the digestive system to digestive system to absorb. That's why it's often avoided. So, but there are so many other whole grains. Millet is a whole grain, okay? Sorghum is a whole grain. Corn is a whole grain. There are so many other whole grains that can actually still give you the same nutrient that you desire. So you tell yourself, I, Shelly and Chinone, will prioritize high protein foods, because for you to also gain weight, you need to eat high protein food. I, Shelly and Chinone, will prioritize on exercise. I'll prioritize exercising 5 times in a week. I'll prioritize eating high fat food 5 times in a week. I'll prioritize dancing. I'll prioritize. You say it out loud. This is what this is what you want to achieve, and you have to say it out. So why is this important? Speaking out loud holds you accountable. You know, there is that thing in your brain that, hey, but you said you will do this thing. But you said you would. Imagine even saying it out to someone else. That person helps hold you accountable. That's why when I organize programs, I like organizing group programs, because people find it very difficult to achieve these things when they're working on their own. So, but when they're in a group, they are getting motivation from so many other people. They are being, gingered. They are being encouraged by every other person. They are being held accountable. So by the time you say out this your goals, whatever is it that you're trying to achieve out loud to yourself or even to someone that you know that will help hold you accountable, it triggers actions that will help you honor your commitments. So the essence of saying it out loud is that you want to hold yourself accountable, and then trigger unconsciously, you trigger these actions, because by the time you're going to the fridge to pick up that soda, you tell yourself, hey, but I thought you said you won't drink this soda again. One mind will be like, I beg, let's start tomorrow. Another mind will be like, oh, okay, maybe let me go for something else. Okay, so these things, by the time you say it out loud, it triggers you. It helps you honor your commitment. Okay, then the second thing on it, please, the next slide, Felix. The second big thing is the knowledge gap. The knowledge gap. Knowing that oranges, for example, in this case, are rich in vitamin C is a general knowledge. But understanding how oranges, sorry, that's supposed to be understanding how oranges impact on our health and its ability to help you fight off the flu may be the one reason you would want to stick to orange. This is what I'm saying. Remember, I just listed some foods that are generally accepted to be brain foods, okay? Now that these foods are generally accepted is one thing, but that this food actually help you with your own brain function is another thing. Remember the bio-individuality concept of one man's food being another man's poison. So that oranges are good and they are high in vitamin C doesn't mean that oranges will work for you. That is why some people have heartburn each time they take oranges. That is why some people experience gas each time they have oranges. This is why some people have diarrhea each time they take beans. This is why some people have so many other things when they eat certain things. So when you understand by doing this ultimate food test, how each food actually impacts on your own health and your productivity, impact on your own health, your mental health, your mood, impact on everything about you, you begin to make the right choice. Not because of the theory, not because people are saying, keto diet is what's reigning now. Not because people are saying, it's better to go vegan. Yeah, don't eat meat again. Not because people are saying, milk is not good. No, but because you have tested and you can say for sure that this food actually works for me or that this food actually doesn't work for me, okay? Food is always about the individual. Food is always about the individual. It answers questions like, why this food? Why this food? How will it impact my health? Remember that food is about the individual and it is not about the dietary theory. It is not about, hey, it's keto diet that is reigning now. Oh, let's rush to keto diet. Keto. Everybody is ketoing. No, it's not about that. The food that you eat is about you. It's about your choices. It's about your health. The food you eat is about your goals. Now that we're trying to boost a healthy mental health, okay? This food are listed, but you try out this food and you see that actually you feel good each time you eat some of these food are listed. Nobody will tell you to prioritize them. Nobody will tell you to stick to them because you have seen firsthand how these foods can actually help with your health, how this food can actually help with your hormones, how this food will actually help with your happiness, how this food will actually help with your mood. Okay, so now the second thing is this. Why I say food is about individual is that, yes, the first thing is that it answers the question, why this food? Then the second thing is that it answers the question, how will it impact my health? How will this particular food impact my energy, my metabolism, my mood, my sex life, my productivity, and my mental health in general? Because let me tell you, food actually impacts our sex life. Food actually impacts on our metabolism. Food actually impacts on our energy, okay? Now, the third thing on this is that, will this food be beneficial for me at this season?
Felix, have we lost her?
Yeah, and I think she was just about to conclude, so we are fine.
That was awesome.
In the meantime, yeah, well done. Thank you so much, Dr. Shirley Ann Chinonye Akabueze. I'm trying my best to familiarize myself with the name. It's actually been an explosive session with her, especially when she started mentioning specific foods that we can begin to eat. And Dr. Folake Yoba mentioned at the very beginning of this program that it doesn't necessarily have to be expensive for us to be eating healthy, right? So when we're saying poor diet, it's not saying something that is very cheap, but it is something that is not the best, right? And she has shared optimum recommendations that we can use. I believe that most of us have taken notes, and I want to assure you that there's always a replay, and you can find them on Zoom, on YouTube, please, on our page, Prime Unique Women Initiative. You can always catch up in case you may have missed any of the points that she mentioned during her presentation, so that you can take note of the ugu that she mentioned, you can take note of the walnuts, you can take note of the other foods that she recommended. Of course, some of the things she said are things that we may have a bit of hesitation or difficulty implementing. For example, we've seen a message in the comments, for instance, that's saying that sometimes it can be a challenge to actually stop avoid the temptation to drink water in between meals. But if our expert is telling us that that's the best recommendation, right? She also said, we want to choose our priorities. What is our priority? Do we want to stay healthy, or do we want to satisfy our craving? That is one thing that I want to try to find out. Thank you so much, Dr. Shirley Ann. I really appreciate the time. We would allow people to ask their questions now, to give their comments and contributions. And we are starting with, again, I want to find out whether Dr. Faith is back. I saw her like a minute ago, but I understand that it's raining in many parts of Abuja, so maybe that's a problem she has. But if you are connected on another device, because I cannot see your name here, perhaps you could speak up.
Okay,
Otherwise, I
yes,
want to find out
yes,
whether that comment. Okay, Dr.
I'm
Faith,
here.
please. Okay, please go ahead.
Okay.
Okay, while we'll expect her to talk, Dr. Faith is a naturopathic doctor, and we believe in nature because God has endowed us with this, and it's actually for our good. Everything we've said, even from our meals affecting our health, is also about nature as well. So she's going to be telling us about how our feeding, our meals, our methods of eating, the kind of food we eat, can actually affect also our brain, just in line with what the last speaker just said. So, Dr. Faith, are you available?
Yes, ma, I am. Hello?
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, good evening, all. Hello?
Yes, we
We
can
can
hear you,
hear
Dr.
you.
Faith. We can hear you.
Okay, can you make it possible for me to share a slide?
Yes, you can share your screen. That's fine.
Okay. Okay. He's still telling me only hosts can
Yeah, you
share.
can try again. Just try again, okay?
Okay, I've seen it. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay. Thank you. Good evening, all. So from the beginning of this mental health talk online, a lot has been said, and I would not like to repeat myself, to repeat what our awesome speakers have told us from the beginning. I'm coming. Sorry, let me check for it. Mental health. Okay. So we've had lots of wonderful speakers who have defined mental health for us, told us what it is and all that. And our amazing speaker this evening, she just did justice to the gut-brain axis, as in our guts is called the second brain. And just as she explained, that is where serotonin, our happiness hormones, are made. Like anything that affects our guts, that's our whole digestive system. It can affect our mood, it can affect our way of thinking, and the way we act, the way we relate to people is also based on how we feel, how we think. So our gut is very, very important. But since most of our speakers have talked on all these aspects, I will not want to repeat myself. Let me just say another way naturopathy helps mental health. And I would just, okay, let me also say another cause of poor mental health before I say how naturopathy can help with childhood trauma. Some people grew up in a very loving home, but that is not the same. This story is not the same for everybody. Some people grew up in war. By war, I mean they witnessed a lot of things children shouldn't even witness. For instance, their parents fighting always, or even divorcing. Poverty in a home, extreme poverty, is also a trauma and all that. So this can affect them into their adulthood. Okay, good examples of childhood trauma: growing up in a toxic home, experiencing natural disaster, and all this. So how can this affect someone in their adulthood? So psychology will tell us that the brain is divided into two. We have the right brain and we have the left side of the brain. So the right side of the brain develops in the first 5 years of a person's life. So this is why parents should be careful in how they raise their children, because the way you make them feel can affect them for life. So this right side of the brain, it's also called the inner child. This is this part of the brain responsible for emotions, how someone feel about themselves, their emotions. So if a child grows up feeling awkward, feeling rejected, feeling unloved, feeling somehow, it can affect that child into adulthood. So the left side of the brain, that side is known for action. It's the part responsible for action. It's the part responsible for action, and we act based on how we feel. So after the first 5 years of a child life and the right side of the brain has developed, the left side of the brain starts developing. And if that child was exposed to toxicity, the mental health of that child is already affected, because it is how that child is feeling in them that they will act. Now, how does naturopathy help or come in? Before then, like all these trauma have listed, they can affect one's brain, the nervous system, and the overall life of the person by putting this individual in different moods. For the fight mood, for instance, maybe a child grew up in a very aggressive environment and all that, and the child had to pick up a coping mechanism of being in a fight mood. So such child will grow up to be impatient, will be very impulsive and rash in decision making. They'll have anger issues. They are easily to get irritated and all that. So we have the flight mood. These ones, they are ungrounded. They avoid rest. Even if there's this type, but they are they must just create work. They must keep themselves busy just to distract themselves from their own thoughts, because it's the flight mood. They are always running. Then the freeze mood. These ones, they are still in shock due to what they are passing. So you see, they'll suffer with procrastination. It will be easy for them to make a plan and stick with it and all that. Then we have the fun mood. These are lack of boundaries, people pleasing and all that. So in naturopathy, there is a way we can help this kind of people. We have the talk therapy, and this is what most of our mental health coach who have started with us from the beginning of this mental health talk have been telling us. So what the talk therapy involves is the psychologist or a mental health coach helping you to talking you to help you see the bright side of things, to help you overcome these conditions you've gone through. But to be honest, there are some cases where talk therapy cannot help. So this is where naturopathy comes in. We have other things, but two I'll be speaking on this evening is the Bach flower therapy and the lithotherapy. Now, what's the Bach flower therapy? In the early 19th century in England, naturopaths discovered that there are flower essences. There is a way we get them from flowers that has the ability to work on the mind of people. No matter the trauma anyone has gone through, if placed on that Bach flower therapy, you are going to get amazing results. In fact, stories have been said of people who have been so angry, they vowed never to forgive and forget. But when placed on the Bach flower therapy, they did not only forgive the person who hurt them, they even had pity on them. So this is the beauty of naturopathy, this is the beauty of natural medicine and all that. Then for the lithotherapy, this is the branch of medicine that heals with stones, gemstones. So according to quantum physics, modern physics, everything in nature is vibrating at a frequency, including stones. So these stones, they've studied them to know what each stone, what their frequency does when absorbed by the human body. So there are stones that for people that are always angry, there are stones that when you have them on you, like the pink tourmaline stone, all that spirit of anger or that anger that is in one's head will just calm down. Those who are always, agitated, they are prone to stress. Even when they want to sleep, they cannot sleep. Stress is just disturbing them. We have the black tourmaline stones for such. So this Bach flower therapy, this lithotherapy I just mentioned, They are very, very potent, highly effective, and we offer that at FUI Health Wellness Center. We offer the talk therapy. We help people through whatever conditions they're helping. And then when we see that this person does not even have the willpower to either forgive or like have a change of mindset or to leave procrastination, we just have to intervene using our back flower therapy and the lithotherapy. So I'll stop here for now. I know our time is far gone. Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, Dr.
Yes,
Faith,
thank you
we
so
got
much.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you
Okay,
so much.
okay. Okay, so
Okay.
I'll be stopping here for now. For now, thank you. So in case you want, our services, you can contact us at FUI Health Wellness Center. The WhatsApp line showing on the slide is our WhatsApp. It's our WhatsApp line, and our address. Okay, our address is not there, but you can just contact us because seriously, it's not everything talk therapy can do. You need help. You need intervention. And we are there to help you with our back flower therapy and gemstone therapy. Thank you and good night.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you so much, Dr. Faith. Thank you,
You're
thank you, thank
welcome.
you. I'd just like to mention that most of the things Dr. Faith has mentioned, I think that I've personally seen and experienced at the facility, and I think it's actually a very interesting one. What's going on there in Abuja? So it's something that I recommend for anybody who is interested. Again, we're still getting more comments and contributions from participants from this webinar. So I'd like to find out if there's somebody who has a question, a comment, a contribution. We will be happy to have you.
Okay, Felix, is there anybody with the hands up or something?
No, I haven't gotten anyone yet. We are waiting for 1 minute to see, and then of course we can wrap up tonight's program.
Okay. Okay, we still have more time. I think, but we still have like 30 minutes to go. So if there's anybody with comments or questions, we are waiting to have that. And I would just like to also chip this in, maybe for those who are in here for the first time. I know Nigerians, as we are, we always want to have what to make us happy. People like to have fun. They like to do things that make them laugh and be happy. But we also need to know that we should seek for knowledge, because it is when we have knowledge and we use knowledge that we have wisdom. And how do you get knowledge? This life is like the way it is said, that garbage in, garbage out. This is an avenue for you to increase your knowledge in anything that has to do with your mental well-being, which all of us should actually be interested in, because I get worried every time I realize that from WHO statistics, we have learned that out of every 4 Nigerian, 1 has mental health challenge. I mean, that's quite alarming. What that simply means is that when you have 4 people in a room, perhaps 1 person has a mental health problem. So, but sometimes we don't know, because people just believe that mental health is only when mental health issues is only when somebody is raving mad on the streets, or maybe somebody is tearing the clothes, or is visibly mentally retarded. No, that is not it. A lot of things are happening around us that actually go a long way to let us know that truly many people have mental health challenges in our midst, but we don't know. Okay, imagine a man who has professed love to the wife, and they are together, they have children, and suddenly he decides to kill the wife. Don't you think that's actually a mental health challenge that the person is probably battling with? Or somebody, somebody with good life that everybody admire, is committing suicide. Certainly, that's a mental health challenge. And sometimes I look at cases like this, and I don't want to blame anybody. But that's why we are saying all of us should look at this and begin to watch out. We should be our brother's keepers. We should look at the next person, maybe your child, maybe your friend, your neighbor, and try to find out what is actually wrong with that person without necessarily being nosy about it. Everybody needs help at one point or another. You know, the cases of suicide is so rampant. we see murder cases, we see things that we cannot imagine. Okay, a father sleeping with the daughter. Don't you think that such a man has mental problem? And okay, even what is very common in Nigeria is a situation where people will be put in charge of public funds and they go and steal everything, far more than what their 10 generations can spend. I think that's a mental health challenge. When somebody is greedy, insanely greedy, you are taking what you cannot use. You are taking what you go and bury in the ground and rats or insects will eat up. That person has mental health problem. I tell you this. But we don't know because most times we all live in denial. You don't even know what mental health means, what we are talking about. And how would you know if you are even having a challenge or another that you need to arrest? Then, of course, in the course of this our program, which comes up fortnightly, we are going to be talking extensively about also the impact of drug abuse, drug addiction, which is very common all around us. In Abuja here, if you go to Zone 4, you see young men, you see so many people trading in drugs all over the place. You go to primary schools, people are on drugs. You go to secondary school, they're on drugs. And how do we expect them to be mentally stable? We have a serious problem here, but people don't even understand. Nobody is paying attention. That's why we are taking it upon ourselves to be able to, let us just make an impact. We can't boil the ocean, agreed, but let's make a little impact. We shouldn't be bothered about how many people will be listening to us. No matter how few the people are, let's just get the knowledge and transmit it. Tell other people about all of this, and let us see how we can make our world a better place to live in. Look at yourself, look at your environment, think about your neighbors. Don't think about yourself only. See how you can help other people in whatever form you can. Education is very, very important because what you don't know is bigger than you. When you educate people, some people will tell them, they'll now say, oh my God, so I've always had this problem, and I didn't know. That's why we say we should speak out and talk to people and think about the next person and see how we can help the next person. And that's why we are not going to relax in having this program. We can only do more. We can't stop doing this program because we are convinced about the fact that we can touch on people's lives. We are not asking people for money. If you get support, fine and good. It will only make it to go bigger than this because we certainly need to touch on more people. It's not everybody who can afford to have data. We've been buying data for people to even be part of this program. Sometimes, even when you give them data to let you know that they don't know the importance, they may not even join. So can you see our situation? It's not a very good one, but we are not going to relax because we believe in education, and we believe in the popular saying that if you think education is expensive, you should try ignorance. With ignorance, you've lost it all. But when you open your mind to learn new things, you get educated, you definitely live a better life, and you find life easier for yourself and for people around you. That's just our situation. I don't know if you have more comments from anybody. Felix, are you?
Yes, Dr. Nina has something for us. Dr. Nina, please.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Doctor, I raised my hand before and I brought it down because Doctor has said what I wanted to say before. But let me just go ahead and chip in one or two things. Thank you, Pui, thank you, Doctor, for this program that we've been having every fortnight. Personally, as a lawyer, I never had this insight about mental health until I started joining this program. I felt it was just medically inclined, but I think I've been in this program, I think this is the 5th time or 6th time, I don't know. But then it has opened my eyes to a whole lot of things. And for some of the people that have not or didn't join us from the beginning, we learned a lot of things from how our mental health affects us emotionally, psychologically, affects our social well-being, affects our productivity as professional individuals, and how it affects our thinking, our feelings, and also how we can handle our stress in relation to others. I personally even spoke how mental health collaborates with crime, because some crime is as a result of bad mental health. So we also talked about types of mental health. We talked about anxiety, which is characterized by excessive worry. We talked about fear. We talked about anxiety. We also talked about disorder. We talked about panic disorder and phobias. We talked about mood disorder, condition that affects someone's emotional states. We talked about depression. We talked about bipolar disorder and sensational affective disorder. We also talked about some psychotic disorder, which is disruptive in thinking, emotions, perception, that can cause someone to lose touch with their reality. We also talked about eating disorder, which is characterized by abnormal eating habits, things like bulimia, nervosa, and the rest of them. We also talked about substance use disorder, that's misuse of alcohol, because we don't want to be in touch with our reality. We talked about drugs and other things. We also talked about personality disorder, which affect how a person thinks, how a person feels. This can be disorder, like doctor said. She said somebody will be stealing and stealing, and you don't even know it's a mental disorder. These are what we call personality disorder. You are doing something and you don't even realize that what you are doing is wrong. So the way someone behaves, the way you think, which can also lead to difficulties in our personal relationship, our daily functionalities. So you get to office, you notice that the way somebody behaves, you think is only when someone runs into the street or when the person is in psychiatric hospital. No, it can be personality disorder, and we don't know. And we also talked about causes of mental health, which can be genetic, brain chemistry, hormonal imbalance, and the rest of them, environmental factors like our traumatic life events, our past, our chronic stress. It could also be abuse, could also be the fact that we're neglected from childhood, some exposure to violence. We talked about psychological effects, which could be cognitive pattern that can influence somebody's mental health. We talked about social factors. I'm just trying to recap everything we have learned, so for you to realize that we have learned a whole lot in these few weeks. So the social factor can also be lack of social support, discrimination, and the rest of them. So, but today I was just so amazed because to realize the relationship between poor health and our mental health. It's a great insight for me to realize that nutrient deficiency can also cause mental health. Some deficiency in essential nutrient like omega-3 fatty acid, like vitamin, minerals, they can lead to mental disorder if we don't know. So example, if deficiency in nutrients like omega-3 fatty acid, B vitamins, zinc, magnesiums, this can be associated with risk of depression and anxiety. So we also talked about the gut-brain connections. We started this before, but unfortunately she couldn't end it. We said that there is a bi-directional communication system between the gut and the brain. So if you read well and you do a lot of researches, you will understand that our research suggests that the health of our gut microbiota, which is influenced by diet, play a crucial role in regulating mood and behavior. Like she said, there are things you will eat that will regulate your mood. You will just start getting angry. A poor diet, that is why sometimes you see people that are malnutrition, they're always very angry. They are always very aggressive. Poor diet and high processing food or low in fiber can disrupt the balance of gut bacteria, potentially that will lead you to mental health issues. She also talked about inflammation. Poor dietary choices, such as consuming high amount of processed food, sugar, and unhealthy fat, it can just make you to be aggressive and you don't know. You take a lot of minerals, a lot of Coke, a lot of Fantas, and you come home, you are just angry unnecessarily. Some people don't even know this. Even diet that is high in refined sugar and carbohydrates can also cause blood sugar level. It can lead you to mood swing, irritation, and fatigue. A diet rich in whole food like fruit, vegetable, like she said, lean protein, healthy fat, can provide necessary nutrients for the optimal brain functions. So if you read things like the Health Psychology or the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, you will know that there's a relationship between what we eat and our mental health. So I don't want to take much of our time. I just want to thank Pui. I just want to thank Dr. Yoba for organizing this seminar. So you can imagine what a lawyer, all these things I've said now, I'm a lawyer. I did not have any idea of what this was all about before I joined this thing. So the gap knowledge in our mental health, before now I used to think when they talk about mental health, we're talking about mad people on the street. We are talking about those people that are using drugs, those people that are just in the psychiatric hospital. But thank you, Pui, for helping us realize that we can even be mentally unhealthy without even knowing. And since this webinar started, I've been putting one or two things, asking myself, why do I behave like this? And it has actually been helpful. So please, I'm sure that we'll be having this webinar again. I don't know, Felix, I don't know, ma'am, but please try to invite your friends. Let's try to share this. A knowledge shared is a solution gotten. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nina. I'm always happy to listen to you. And I really appreciate the breakdown that you've given of most of the programs we've had in recent weeks. We really, really appreciate it. So I'd like to assure you that we're not holding these things to ourselves. We have made it available for most of you to be able to catch up on YouTube. Like I said earlier, the name is Prime Unique Women Initiative. You can check on YouTube and catch up on all the replays that Dr. Nina just spoke about. You can watch the programs, you can document certain other things, and you can begin to take actionable steps to improve the quality of your life. We got a request for, I think someone was asking for Dr. Faith's contact. She shared it earlier on the screen though, but I'll read it in a minute. I think it's 080-5526-1812, 080-5526-1812. So you can reach out to Dr. Faith if you have specific questions with regards to some of the things that she mentioned, especially with regards to childhood trauma, especially with regards to our overall well-being. And there's a facility here in Abuja that you can also take advantage of for most of those things. Dr. Shelley and Chinoye Chibweze, Akabweze, I hope I got that right. You can find her on Facebook and on LinkedIn by the same name, Shirley and Chinoye Akabweze. So in case you have specific questions, you can also ask. We are always willing and happy to listen to you at Prime Unique Women Initiative. You can send a message on Instagram at PUI_NG, PUI_NG. On LinkedIn, it's Prime Unique Women Initiative. On Facebook, it's Prime Unique Women Initiative. You can send a message and we'll be happy to relay your questions or concerns to the experts that can help you, that can provide you needed help, especially if it is something that we are not able to do on our end. Thank you so much. It's actually been a very insightful session. And every time I leave here, I always go home with something new. And I know it's the same for everybody. Next time when we meet here, we'll be talking about drug addiction and gender-based violence. Drug addiction and gender-based violence. Want to find out what steps we can take to break free from drug addiction, how much of a negative impact it's having on our society, and how we can contribute our voices to improve, to avoid, to even eliminate if possible, gender-based violence. That is what we'll be talking about in 2 weeks' time. And of course, we have gone on the streets to interview certain people to hear their intake, their insights, and their opinion about mental health. If time allows us, we're going to share some of the things that they said. And of course, we're going to find out what we can glean from that. It's actually been a very insightful session with each and every one of you. And I'm confident that all of you will be present 2 weeks from today at 7 p.m. prompt to also join us for another insightful edition on drug addiction and gender-based violence. And I also know that just like Dr. Nina recommended, you'll be inviting your friends to join us. I can never stress enough that no effort is too small when it comes to making a difference. If you want to be part of this program, if you want to support us in any way, in cash, in kind, if you want to contribute to your quota, if you want to help more people to attend, whatever it is you think you can do to contribute your voice, we are more than happy to partner with you at Prime Unique Women Initiative. We'll be very happy to work with you. And of course, we would be grateful for that support. I'd like to give the floor now to our president, Dr. Mrs. Folake Yoba.
Okay, thank you so much, Felix. Thank you, brothers and sisters in the background. We thank you, we appreciate you, all the participants. We really, really do appreciate you. And we pray that you would have gained 1 or 2 things, and you can also use this to impact positively in your life and the lives of people around you. And we are not stopping there. I want to let us know that we have a workshop that is coming up in Abuja on the 14th and 15th of May. Still talking about mental health. This time we want to go, we are going to be physical, and we are going to have many people already have registered to be participants in the program in on the 14th and 15th of May. That's next month. So it would be nice if you can have it with us, because then we can be more detailed than this, because the event is going to be for 2 days and the workshop is going to be very, very nice, highly informative and well packed. You can trust us on that. So we hope to see you again on the webinar, the one we're having now, in 2 weeks' time. So please invite your friends. Let us know that there's no knowledge that you get that will become waste. Because even if you don't need it now, you may need it in the future. If you don't need it now, somebody around you might need it some other time. So please, let's keep acquiring knowledge. And we love you all. Thank you very much. Good night. Bye-bye.